Yom Shabath Shalom, my brothers and sisters in Yahuwah, our Elohim, and welcome to our Shabath Bible study. I hope everybody had a great week, and now the sun has set and it is time for Shabath, for Yah's day of rest. And it's time for study and time for prayer and time for reflection of our Father, Yahuwah. So go ahead and grab your Bibles because this is going to be crazy tonight, gang. We're getting into a part of 2 Kings that is really confusing, and you're going to need your Bibles in order to understand this tonight because there's a lot of names, and some of the names overlap, and they're really confusing, okay? So I want everybody to be able to have an understanding tonight. I want everybody to have an understanding every night that we study, but tonight's going to be a difficult one. So grab your Bibles, grab something to drink, get settled in, get comfy, and let's tackle this tonight, okay? We are in Melakim Bet, chapters 7, 8, and 9, okay? 2 Kings 7, 8, and 9. So let's get comfortable and we'll get started tonight. This is going to be quite a study, all right? We'll get a drink and we'll get going. All right. Put my eyeballs on so I can see. Okay, are we ready? If you need a couple of seconds, go ahead and shut the video off and we'll be reading right here for you, okay? Don't feel like you're in a hurry. Got a lot to cover tonight. So, all right, well, let's get started, okay? Melakim Bet, chapter 7. And Elisha said, Hear the word of Yahuwah. Thus said Yahuwah, about this time tomorrow, a seah of fine flour for a shekel, and 2 seahs of barley for a shekel, at the gate of Shemaron. Now remember what we had just gone through. There was big time famine going on. So yeah, a donkey's head was going for 20 pieces of silver, and a little pile of pigeon poop was going for what, 5 shekels, 5 pieces of silver? Yeah, neither one of those things, neither one of them are Torah. So they ain't supposed to be eating them either. Now they're also eating each other's children. So none of that is Torah. They're really off the rails. So Elisha is saying that tomorrow there's going to be plenty of flour and plenty of barley. You're going to be able to get a seah of fine flour for a shekel or 2 seahs of barley for a shekel. So there's going to be plenty around. Just wait. Verse 2. And an officer on whose hand the sovereign leaned answered the man of Elohim and said, Look, if Yahuwah is making windows in the heavens, shall this word come true? And he said, Elisha, Look, you are about to see it with your eyes, but not eat of it. And there were 4 leprous men at the entrance of the gate, and they said to each other, Why are we sitting here until we are dead? If we shall say, Let us go into the city, the scarcity of food is in the city, and we shall die there. And if we sit here, we shall die. Now come, let us surrender to the army of the Arameans. If they keep us alive, we live, and if they kill us, we shall die. So these 4 leprous guys that are sitting in the gate are like, look, you guys, we're going to die no matter what. If we go in the city, we're going to die. If we sit here, we're going to die. We may as well just go give up to the Arameans and see, if they'll at least feed us. And if they kill us, we're dead. Verse 5. So at twilight they rose up to go to the camp of the Arameans. And when they had come to the outskirts of the Aramean camp, look, no one was there. For Yahuwah had caused the army of the Arameans to hear the noise of chariots and the noise of horses, the noise of a great army. And they said to each other, Look, the sovereign of Yasharel has hired against us the sovereigns of the Hittites and the sovereigns of the Mitzrayans to come against us. So they rose up and fled at twilight and left the camp as it is, their tents and their horses and their donkeys, and they fled for their lives. So the Arameans, Yah put a thought in their head that they were being attacked and made some noises for them, and they freaked out and they bugged out and left everything there. Verse 8. And when these lepers came to the outskirts of the camp, they went into one tent and ate and drank, and took from there silver and gold and garments, and went and hid them. And they came back and went into another tent, and took from there, and went and hid it. And they said to each other, We are not doing right. This day is a day of good news, and we are keeping silent. And if we wait until morning light, then evil shall come upon us. And now come, let us go and inform the house of the sovereign. So they're going to go and tell the sovereign, Look, there's all kinds of supplies out here if you guys want to come and get some instead of stashing it all for themselves. Verse 10, And they came and called to the gatekeepers of the city and informed them, saying, We went to the camp of Aram, and look, there is not a man or a voice of a man, only horses tied and donkeys tied, and the tents as they were. And the gatekeepers called, and they informed the house of the sovereign inside. So the sovereign rose up in the night and said to his servants, Let me now inform you what the Arameans have done to us. They know that we are starving. So they have gone out of the camp to hide themselves in the field, saying, When they come out of the city, we shall catch them alive and enter the city. So the sovereign thinks that they're going to bushwhack them, that they're faking all of this and that they're hiding, so when they come out to retrieve everything, that the Arameans are going to bushwhack them. Yeah, okay. Verse 13, And one of his servants answered and said, Please, let us take 5 of the horses that are left in the city. Look, they are like the entire crowd of Yasharel that are left in it. There's not very many of us left, and there's only 5 horses. Let's take them out and go take a look. Look, they are like the entire crowd of Yasharel left from those who are consumed. So let us send and see. They then took 2 chariots with horses, and the sovereign sent them in the direction of the camp of Aram, saying, Go and see. And they went after them to the Yarden, and look, all the way was littered with garments and weapons which the Arameans had thrown away in their haste. And the messengers returned and reported to the sovereign. Then the people went out and plundered the camp of Aram. So a seah of fine flour was for a shekel, and 2 seahs of barley for a shekel, according to the word of Yahuwah, which was prophesied over here at the beginning of chapter 7 with Elisha, when he said that this was going to happen. Okay? Verse 17, And the sovereign had appointed the officer on whose hand he leaned to be in charge of the gate. But the people trampled him in the gate, and he died, as the man of Elohim had said, who spoke when the sovereign came down to him. So the guy that came down to take off Elisha's head, Elisha told him, he said, Look, you are about to see it with your eyes, but not eat of it. The people trampled him, so he saw it, but he got killed before he was able to eat anything. They trampled him. So the entire prophecy came true there. Verse 18, And it came to be, as the man of Elohim had spoken to the sovereign, saying, 2 seahs of barley for a shekel, and 2 seahs of fine flour for a shekel, at this time tomorrow in the gate of Shomeron. That officer answered the man of Elohim and said, Now look, if Yahuwah is making windows in the heavens, it is according to this word. And he said, Look, you are about to see it with your eyes, but not eat of it. So see, it's repeating this prophecy that Elisha had told him. Verse 20, And so it came to be for him, for the people trampled him in the gate, and he died. Chapter 8. And Elisha spoke to the woman whose son he had restored to life, saying, Rise up and go, you and your household, and sojourn wherever you do sojourn, for Yahuwah has called for a scarcity of food, and also it is coming upon the land for 7 years. There's that reoccurring number again, 7 years. Yeah, well, Joseph was he was packing the food away for 7 years because there was going to be a scarcity in the land for 7 years, remember? Maybe you guys ought to go and get a few big bags of rice and some big bags of beans and stuff and put them away. There could possibly be coming a famine real soon here. Just saying. Verse 2, And the woman rose up and did according to the word of the man of Elohim, and she went with her household and sojourned in the land of the Philistines 7 years. And it came to be, at the end of 7 years, that the woman returned from the land of the Philistines, and she went to cry out to the sovereign for her house and for her land. And the sovereign was speaking to Gehazi. So Gehazi's back, so he must still be around. He must still be the servant of Elisha. Okay, it's because they mention his name here now again. Verse 4, And the sovereign was speaking to Gehazi, the servant of the man of Elohim, saying, Please relate to me all the great matters Elisha has done. And it came to be, as he was relating to the sovereign how he had restored the dead to life, that see, the woman whose son he had restored to life was crying out to the sovereign for her house and for her land. And Gehazi said, My master, O sovereign, this is the woman, and this is her son, whom Elisha restored to life. So the sovereign asked the woman, and she related to him. And the sovereign appointed a certain eunuch for her, saying, Return all that was hers, and all the increase of the field from the day that she left the land until now. So she got her land back. Verse 7, And Elisha came from Damascus, and Ben-Hadad, sovereign of Aram, was sick. Okay, so Ben-Hadad is still around too, so he's still the sovereign of Aram. We had that question also the last study. So obviously he's still around. And it was reported to him, saying, The man of Elohim has come here. And the sovereign said to Hazael, Take a present in your hand, and go to meet the man of Elohim, and inquire of Yahuwah by him, saying, Do I recover from this sickness? So Hazael went to meet him, and took a present with him, of all the good wares of Damascus, 40 camel loads. And he came and stood before him, and said, Your son Ben-Hadad, sovereign of Aram, has sent me to you, saying, Do I recover from this sickness? So Elisha held a lot of clout here. They all respected him a lot because they knew that he was speaking the words of Elohim. He was speaking the words of Yahuwah to them. Even though sometimes they wouldn't listen, they knew. So Hazael is asking, Your son Ben-Hadad, sovereign of Aram, has sent me to you, saying, Do I recover from this sickness? So he's asking Elisha if he's going to recover. Verse 10, And Elisha said to him, Go, say to him, You shall certainly recover, but Yahuwah has shown me that he shall certainly die. So he's telling him to go back, telling Hazael to go back and tell the king that he's going to recover from the sickness, but that he's going to die. So this is like a twofold prophecy here, because he's prophesying that he's going to survive the sickness, but he's still going to die. We're all going to die, but it's interesting that he has phrased it this way. Let's see what he means. Verse 11, And he looked at him steadily until he was ashamed. Then the man of Elohim wept. And Hazael said, Why is my master weeping? And he answered, Because I know the evil that you are going to do to the children of Yasharel, setting their strongholds on fire, and killing their young men with the sword, and dashing their children, and ripping open the women with child. And Hazael said, What is your servant, a dog, that he should perform this great matter? And Elisha answered, Yahuwah has shown that you are to be sovereign over Aram. So he's telling Hazael that he's going to end up being the king, and there's going to be a battle, and he is going to be responsible for killing a lot of people in Yasharel. All kinds of prophecy here. Verse 14, And he left Elisha and came to his master, who said to him, What did Elisha say to you? And he answered, He said to me that you shall certainly recover. And on the next day it came to be that he took a thick cloth and dipped it in water and spread it over his face so that he died. So, yeah, Hazael just murdered Aram, the king of Aram. Yeah, there's some prophecy being fulfilled right there. And Hazael reigned in his place. Okay? So the king of Aram just got murdered by his head of his army. Verse 16, this is where it's going to get really confusing, gang. And in the 5th year of Jehoram, son of Ahab, sovereign of Yasharel. Okay, so he's called Jehoram, but Yoram, he's referred to as Yoram also. So keep that straight when we're getting through this. This guy's got 2 ways that he's referred to. Let's start this over. Verse 16, in the 5th year of Jehoram, son of Ahab, sovereign of Yasharel, Jehoshaphat was sovereign of Yehuda. Jehoram, son of Jehoshaphat, began to reign as sovereign of Yehuda. So there's 2 of them now that have basically got the same name, but the sovereign of Yasharel is known as Yoram further down. So Jehoram and Jehoram. Yeah, it's really confusing. Alright, let's see if we can make it through this. Verse 17. He was 32 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 8 years in oh boy, my tongue is tied. Jerusalem. And he walked in the ways of the sovereign of Yasharel, as the house of Ahab had done. For the daughter of Ahab was his wife, and he did evil in the eyes of Yahuwah. So the son of Ahab was married to the daughter of Ahab. Yeah, there's some crazy stuff going on here, gang. This is really wild. Verse 19. However, Yahuwah would not destroy Yehuda for the sake of David his servant, as he promised him to give a lamp to him and his sons forever. In his days, Edom revolted from under the hand of Yehuda and made a sovereign over themselves. So Edom is revolted. And Joram, see, his name is changed. Joram passed over to Tizar, and all his chariots with him, and he rose by night and struck the Edomites who had surrounded him and the commanders of the chariots. But his people fled to their tents. Yet Edom had been in revolt from under the hand of Yehuda to this day. Then Libnah revolted at the same time. So there's some major revolts going on here. There's all kinds of stuff going on. People are revolting. It's just chaos. There's just stuff going on all over the place. Verse 23, and the rest of the acts of Joram, and all that he did, are they not written in the books of the annals of the sovereign of Yehuda? So Joram slept with his fathers and was buried with his fathers in the city of David. And Ahaziah, his son, reigned in his place. So now we've got a new king, who's the king of Yehuda. Verse 25, in the 12th year of Joram, son of Ahab, sovereign of Yasharel, Ahaziah, son of Jehoram, sovereign of Yehuda, began to reign. Yeah, I hope y'all are keeping up with all this. Verse 26, Ahaziah was 22 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. And the name of his mother was Athaliah, the granddaughter of Omri, sovereign of Yasharel. And he walked in the ways of the house of Ahab, and did evil in the eyes of Yahuwah, as the house of Ahab had done, for he was the son-in-law of the house of Ahab. And he went with Joram, son of Ahab, to battle against Hazael, sovereign of Aram, at Ramoth Gilead. And the Arameans struck Joram. And sovereign Joram went back to Yisrael to recover from the wounds with which the Arameans had struck him at Ramah, when he fought against Hazael, sovereign of Aram. Then Ahaziah, son of Jehoram, the sovereign of Yehuda, went down to see Joram, son of Ahab, in Yisrael, for he was sick. Chapter 9. Yeah, I know. Is your head spinning? No doubt. This is confusing. Chapter 9. And Elisha the prophet called one of the sons of the prophets, and said to him, Gird your loins, and take this flask of oil in your hand, and go to Ramoth Gilead. And you shall go there, and look there for Jehu, son of Jehoshaphat, son of Nimshi, and go in, and make him rise up from among his brothers, and take him to an inner room. And take the flask of oil, and pour it on his head, and say, Thus said Yahuwah, I have anointed you sovereign over Yasharel. Then you shall open the door and flee, and do not wait. Yeah, this is going to cause a ruckus. Verse 4, so the young man, the prophet, went to Ramoth Gilead, and came in, and saw the commanders of the army sitting. And he said, I have a message for you, O commander. And Jehu said, For which one of us? And he said, For you, commander. And he rose up, and went into the house, and he poured oil on his head, and said to him, Thus said Yahuwah, Elohim of Yasharel, I have anointed you sovereign over the people of Yahuwah, over Yasharel. And you shall strike the house of Ahab, your master, and I shall avenge the blood of my servants, the prophets, and the blood of all the servants of Yahuwah at the hand of Isabel. And all the house of Ahab shall perish, and I shall cut off from Ahab all the males in Yasharel, both those shut up and those left at large. He is going to kill everyone who has any kind of relation to Isabel or Ahab. Everybody. Verse 9, And I shall give up the house of Ahab like the house of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha, son of Ahiah. And the dogs are going to eat Isabel in the portion of Yisrael, with none to bury her. Then he opened the door and he fled. Yeah, he opened up a can of worms there. Better get out while the getting's good. Verse 11, And Jehu came out to the servants of his master, and one said to him, Is there peace? Why did this madman come to you? And he said to them, You know the man and his talk. He kind of played it off as this guy is just crazy. Don't sweat it, it's not a big deal. Verse 12, And they said, A lie! Reveal it to us now. So he said, Thus and thus he spoke to me, saying, Thus said Yahuwah, I have anointed you sovereign over Yasharel. And there it comes. And they hurried, and each one took his garment and put it under him on the top of the steps. And they blew with the shofar, saying, Yehu reigns. So all these guys were happy about it. Yeah, I thought that there was going to be a bit of a mess there, but everybody's happy about this. Verse 14, Thus Jehu, son of Jehoshaphat, son of Nimshi, conspired against Joram. Now Joram had been guarding Ramoth Gilead, he and all Yasharel, against Hazael, sovereign of Aram. But sovereign Jehoram had returned to Yisrael to recover from the wounds with which the Arameans had stricken him when he fought with Hazael, sovereign of Aram. Jehu now said, If this is your desire, let no one leave or escape from the city to go and make it known in Yisrael. And Jehu rode in a chariot and went to Yisrael, for Joram was laid up there, and Ahaziah, sovereign of Yehudah, had come down to see Joram. And a watchman stood on the tower in Yisrael, and he saw the company of Jehu as he came, and said, I see a company of men. And Jehoram said, Get a horseman and send him to meet them, and let him say, Is there peace? And the horseman went to meet him, and said, Thus said the sovereign, Is there peace? And Jehu said, What have you to do with peace? Turn around and follow me. And the watchman spoke, saying, The messenger went to them, but is not coming back. Then he sent out a second horseman who came to them, and said, Thus said the sovereign, Is there peace? And Jehu answered, What have you to do with peace? Turn around and follow me. And the watchman spoke, saying, He went up to them, and is not coming back. And the driver is like the driving of Jehu, son of Nimshi, for he drives madly. So they recognize how Jehu drives a chariot, and he must drive like a madman, because they recognize, look at Jehu, here he comes, he's driving like crazy. Verse 21, Then Jehoram said, Hitch up! And his chariot was hitched up. And Jehoram, sovereign of Yasharel, and Ahaziah, sovereign of Yehudah, went out, each in his chariot. And they went out to meet Jehu, and met him on the portion of Naboth, the Israelite. So the ground, the orchard that Ahab stole, that Jezebel killed Naboth and took his vineyard, this is where they're meeting at. Verse 22, And it came to be, when Jehoram saw Jehu, that he said, Is there peace, Jehu? But he answered, What peace, as long as the whoring of your mother Isabel and her witchcraft are so many? Thereupon Jehoram turned his hands around and fled, and said to Ahaziah, Treachery, O Ahaziah! And Jehu drew his bow and struck Jehoram between his arms, and the arrow came out his heart, and he sank down in his chariot. And Jehu said to Bidkah, his officer, Take him up, and throw him into the portion of the field of Naboth, the Israelite. Remember how you and I were riding together behind Ahab his father, and Yahweh lifted up this pronouncement against him? So yeah, they're remembering back what Yahweh said about what was going to happen to Ahab and all of this. Verse 26, Have I not seen the blood of Naboth and the blood of his sons last night? Declares Yahweh. And I shall repay you in this portion, declares Yahweh. And now take up, throw him on the portion according to the word of Yahweh. And Ahaziah, sovereign of Yehudah, saw this, and fled up the way to Beth Hagan. And Jehu pursued him, and said, Strike him too in the chariot, and at the ascent to Gur, which is by Yibleam. and he fled to Megiddo and died there. Then his servants conveyed him in the chariot to Jerusalem, and buried him in his burial place with his fathers in the city of David. And in the 11th year of Jehoram, son of Ahab, Ahaziah began to reign over Yehudah. And Jehu came to Israel, and Isabel heard about it. And she put paint on her eyes and adorned her head and looked through a window, so she started dressing herself up to be queen. Verse 31, and as Jehu came to the gate, she said, Is it peace, Zimri, killer of your master? And he lifted up his face to the window and said, Who is with me? Who? And 3 eunuchs looked down at him. And he said, Throw her down. And they threw her down, and some of her blood splattered on the wall and on the horses, and he trampled her underfoot. So the 3 eunuchs tossed her out the window. She bounced off the wall, splattered blood all over the place, and then Jehu just crunched over the top of her. Verse 34, and he went in, and he ate and drank, and said, Go now, see to this cursed one, and bury her, for she was a sovereign's daughter. So they went to bury her, but all they found of her was the skull and the feet and the palms of her hands. Remember what the prophecy was? Yeah, Yah said the dogs were going to eat her. Verse 36, and they came back and informed him, and he said, This is the word of Yahuwah, which he spoke by his servant Eliyahu the Tishbite, saying, In the portion of Israel, dogs are going to eat the flesh of Isabel. And the corpse of Isabel shall be as dung on the surface of the field in the portion of Israel, so that they do not say, This is Isabel. And that's the end of chapter 9. Wow. So Jehu is now the king of both Yasharel and of Yehudah. He's got it all. He went on a killing spree. I'll tell you what, gang. He took out a lot of wicked, evil people in one night. And just because one of the prophets showed up and splashed oil on his head and said, Hey, Yah says you're the guy. Go do it. Yee-haw! So, I hope everybody understood all of that was going on there. If you didn't understand it, go back and reread it, okay? It's important that we understand everything that we're reading, and that's really kind of confusing. So, well, that's all I got, gang. I hope that each one of you that are seeking the wisdom and knowledge of Yahuwah were blessed and are blessed by Yahuwah. I pray that you all are seeking the beautiful face of our Elohim. And, as always, please take advantage of Yahuwah's day of rest, the Shabath. Don't be going and doing anything. Don't be going to the store. Don't be doing any of those things. Just rest and read Yah's word. Read it to your children. Teach your children. Okay? Very important. I know. I foot stomp it all the time. But it's very important that we do this. Okay? This is the next generation that's coming up. And we need to teach them. We need to be the example. All of us. Everyone who studies and everyone that follows in the footsteps of Yahushua HaMashiach. Okay? Alright, gang. Y'all have a great Shabath. And we will see you on 4th day. Okay? Alright. We'll see you then. Shabath Shalom.